Hey Mojoholics, welcome to Inside Watch Mojo episode 10. As you can see, Dan and I are getting the What's Your Mojo band back together. Yay! But we have more good news. We had a banner weekend last week and another one with 7.8 million views on Saturday and 7.6 million views on Sunday, which is nutso. So thank you guys for helping us crush more records.
Sorry, was that nutso?
Nutso.
Nutso.
It's a family word. Anyway, so we're going to talk about Dan's show TopX or TopX, depending on
whichever way when you like. I say it differently too.
And we're going to talk about some other silliness, like how's your hand doing, bro?
My hand is okay. I cut my finger about a year ago, about 10 feet from this very spot.
He's taken a glass down and sliced it, and there's
I still can't straighten the finger anymore. I sliced my tendon, nerve, and artery. So be careful with broken glass, kids. Or actually, be careful with all glass in general. Don't break it. Anyway.
His dad actually bought him plastic glasses to bring into the office.
Felt like a real safety kid after that.
Short bus. Anyway, on to TopX. So, what challenges do you face when you're putting together these lists of the top 10 YouTube channels?
Well, the short answer is just like trying to figure out why something is popular. I mean, with movies or music or anything like that, there's a lot of supporting media out there. You can, even if you're not familiar with it, one problem we have here at WatchMojo is we can't possibly be familiar with every topic we cover, so we have to do a lot of research. Movies, TV, video games, all that stuff, there's tons of media out there to show you why something is good, why something is popular. Whereas YouTube channels, there's not a lot of stuff out there to explain the popularity of certain things.
They're still underground.
They're still sort of underground, man, before they were cool. So basically the only way to really do it is sort of binge watch the channel for a little bit and then kind of sort of take, for lack of a better word, an educated guess as to why people like it.
Right.
And that's kind of tough. Sometimes you're just watching a channel and you're like, I don't get it, man. Yeah, like it just happens a lot.
All right, I get that.
Yeah.
Is it weird mixing like huge brands that are on YouTube with guys in basements who have channels?
Definitely. I mean, when most people think like that we're counting down, top 10 YouTube channels, they're looking mostly for the sort of the grassroots, at-home sort of YouTube channels, the type of people that started as YouTube channels. Now, there's a lot of channels out there that are owned by huge brands.
Right.
For instance, like our news thing was a big one. There was a lot of, we had CNN and BBC mixed with some other people that are just reporting from their basement, essentially. So, on the one hand, you figure that like a lot of people get their news from that sort of stuff. So if you were to exclude that, you're excluding a large part of the YouTube audience that's getting their news. But on the other hand, if it almost seems unfair to compare these huge brands with their huge production value and all their revenue and stuff like that to just some guys with a couple of DSLRs in their basements.
Right.
However, we have to, you gotta pick and choose. It is what it is. Yeah.
Does our audience react to the various topics in the same way week to week? Because the topics vary quite significantly.
Absolutely not. Basically, I've noticed that the comments, there's a little screw up in almost every episode. I'll be the first to admit, I'll anything from a tiny factual error to or a big factual error to a name mispronunciation. I called the guy named Jafari. I called him Giraffe. That was a big screw up. But I've noticed that,
I'm sorry.
For instance, cooking channels.
Right.
I excluded a cooking channel. People are like, oh, I really would have liked to see Jimmy's Kitchen, but good list, WatchMojo, thanks. Whereas if I exclude something on a video game list, people are like, what the WatchMojo, you retards. They lose their minds. So same thing with the prankster channel. The prankster channel list had huge negativity in the comments. Just, you can really tell that the certain topics attract certain types of people, and they respond in certain types of ways.
Right.
Which is the most diplomatic way I can say that.
Internet is such an interesting place.
It's an interesting place.
So what kind of feedback do you get from the YouTube channels that you've mentioned?
90% of the time, it's just a comment on the video itself. We always tell them that we're going to feature them.
Okay.
Some people are just too busy to respond. They don't notice it or they ignore our emails, who knows. But most of them will just respond to the comments, hey, great to be featured. We did have one channel who was a bit upset with us. I mentioned that he didn't have the greatest production value, and we also showed a lot of his older stuff.
Right.
Now, he was understandably a little bit upset about this because he felt it didn't represent what his channel is today. That highlights essentially another problem that we have when we're trying to figure out why something is good. You know, you can sort YouTube videos by views. So for that guy, we sorted by views and we noticed that like his recent stuff has hardly any views, whereas his older stuff has a ton. And you figure the stuff with the most views is the stuff that is most representative of their channel. This turned out to be a bit of an error, but it's still logical, you know, like most of his fans will have seen the stuff with the most views. So
that's what got him.
That's what got him his
on the
popularity.
list,
Exactly. So you give and take. It's still a science that we're tweaking.
Right. Not a science. More
it's
art
not a
than
science. It's still it's an art that we are tweaking.
So you and I are usually, not today, but we are usually disembodied voices when it comes to the list. But as the face of TopX, essentially, or TopX, do you feel more pressure / responsibility as the face of the show?
Short answer, yes. One example I like to use is that like, if I make a weird pronunciation error when I'm doing voiceover, people generally will blame me. They'll say like, I hate the way this guy says Mario or Mario. People love to point that out. So that blame generally falls on me. But if I make a factual error, like, you know, I say like, Pikachu is the dumbest Digimon ever or something like that, which is not correct. I know, by the way. People generally blame WatchMojo. They go, WatchMojo doesn't know anything about Pokemon. They don't know anything about their subjects, this and that. But if I make a mistake like that on TopX, because I'm on camera delivering it with my face there, people generally, the blame squarely falls on me, at least from what I can tell from the comments.
Yeah, the comments are fun.
So like I said, there's this sort of pressure to maintain your own personal brand. Obviously, I'm representing WatchMojo when I'm doing the show, but I also feel like my own credibility is on the line, even if it's not necessarily the research that I've done or the words that I've written, although most of the time it is, but hey.
What are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do?
So I'm sure Dan would appreciate some help on the suggest page to know what topics we should cover on TopX.
I really would.
Really would.
Yeah.
So while you're there, you should probably help us with some votes on these suggest pages. Top 10 evil twins in movies, top 10 co-stars that are or were real-life couples, and top 10 angry video game characters. Evil twins in movies, the only one I can think of is that, what's that guy's name? The guy who's the voice of Scar, Jeremy Irons, is like twins, and I can't remember what it's called, but it's like a Cronenberg
that
movie
weird
or something.
movie?
It's really weird.
Is that weird movie with all the weird
Dead Ringers. Thank you, camera guy.
There's like some weird sex in that movie, eh? It's like really weird.
She like bites a scar to like separate them, but I think it's a dream, and I don't know. I don't like it.
Hot.
Anyway, I am working on something far less scary, which is fictional TV journalists. So obviously there are a lot of them. I guess Lois Lane will be one. Lois Lane and Clark Kent, probably. I submit to you Larry Appleton from Perfect Strangers, because that was my favorite show growing up. I don't know why.
Never seen that show before.
I don't understand you.
Perfect Strangers?
Yes. Balky and cousin Larry Appleton.
Are those words?
He was from, it doesn't matter. Anyway, it's like a foreign fish out of water, comes to America, yay USA show. It was very cute, but anyway, it's very sitcom-y. What are you working on this week?
We're trying to put together a TopX episode for top 10 anime review channels, which is, we are going to need help with that. So please, if you like watching anime on YouTube, in any sense of the word, please get over to the suggest page and vote your
hearts out?
Hearts out, yeah. There you go.
That is a good plan. I obviously don't have anything to say about that.
No, anime's tough. Anime is one of the tougher topics, so please.
Yeah, and the fans are fervent.
Yeah.
So we want
fan level is over 9,000.
See, we know anime.
9,000, yeah.
Okay, so last week we announced in the show that we had hit 7 million subscribers. Thank you again.
We did.
And in honor of that, we decided to give away 7 somethings, which is t-shirts or bags or whatever. So our question for the contest last week was, tweet us a message about your ideal vacation. Sue, as always, we cannot read them all because there are 7 winners. Sue, I'll pick my favorite that isn't related to Back to the Future, because there was a Back to the Future one, because people know how to get to me. Plower, also known as Night into Dream, says, a worldwide trip visiting the best food spots like Texas for barbecue, France for wine, and Belgium for chocolate. Yummy.
Food spots.
That sounds delicious.
Does sound pretty good.
I would do that. I would do that. So for the rest of the winners, check in the description below to see if your name is there. And if it is, you should get to us at contest@WatchMojo.com to claim your prize and send us your shipping info. So for this week's contest, believe it or not, and I'm gonna go with not, because what is it, like -20 today? That's Celsius, by the way. Spring is supposed to spring this weekend, I believe. So tweet us what your favorite spring activity is. Do you have a favorite spring activity?
Avoiding dog poop.
Fair enough. And we will pick a winner in a couple of weeks. So don't forget the hashtag WM question. Now, as we also announced last week, we're going to bring back comment of the week.
Woo!
And this is the segment of the show where we will put it. So, Srami, or SRami004, left this one on top 10 reasons Justin Bieber is hated. For the record, we're not saying we hate him, which is what we say in all our videos. So it's the comment says, for the record, we're not saying we hate him. Hashtag WatchMojo, LOL, liars. I got nothing.
Hashtag cop out.
I'm just gonna shrug. So, thank you guys for watching. Thank you for being on the show, Dan.
Thank you, Rebecca.
And we'll see you next time.